You're listening to the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman, episode 199. So on today's podcast, I'm joined by Bronte, who you may know as the editor, founder of Femme Magazine, but you do so many things. So welcome. It's lovely to have you here. Please do tell us all about you and what you do.
It is, firstly, it's so lovely to be on here, Ria, and to see you again after so long. So I'm the current founder and editor-in-chief of Femme Country magazine. We've been running now for, oh my gosh, it's like 4 years now. Yeah, I know. I just thought the other week, I was like, oh my gosh, I think it's been 4 years, which is just incredible. But yeah, so originally, obviously we started as a magazine, which is still how it's going, but it's grown completely further than I could ever imagined as a business and as a more of a media brand as well. So essentially we are a fashion, country and lifestyle magazine, but we do so much more than that. And I think that's in terms of content and in terms of how we make the readers feel that come to us as well. I think we're not just essentially a magazine that we send out.
Sure. So how did it start? Because obviously in a time when, digital, social, such a big thing, taking the step to have a printed magazine is quite a big thing, isn't it? And definitely bucking a trend. So what made you go for that? What made you take that route? What made you start the magazine anyway?
Yeah, I think as well with the whole, print is dead kind of scene, I think for me, it really wasn't. And it was a thing that I really collected as just like and to enjoy magazines, and they became more of like a commodity to me than something that I would just kind of read and then bin. So I have like collections at home of like Vogue, Tatler, Country Living. So I thought if I'm doing that, then other people must be as well. But for me, the original spark came from, so I used to go to university in London, and obviously being a Yorkshire girl, it's completely different atmosphere, life. So so I went to the London College of Fashion, and I was doing fashion journalism and criticism. So I absolutely loved it. But at the time, the living situation just didn't kind of jump out to me as such. And I'm a girl who completely loves the countryside and the city. And I thought, in my head, I was like imagining this Devil Wears Prada kind of life. And we used to go to London quite a lot with my family. So yeah, I just had all these visions in my mind. And then when I got down there, it was completely different. Like, you're not always going to fancy restaurants and spending money and things like that. And the student life anyway isn't, it's not 10 out of 10. No. I just made the decision. I was like, I just don't think I'm very comfortable here. And I think moving back home would be the best thought. And at the time I was still really young, like I was 18 turning 19. I just made the decision to come back home to York. But at the time it was a very difficult, I would say it was like the lowest points of my life, because I think everything that I'd worked up towards had just gone down the drain essentially. And I had all these visions of where I was going to take myself and who I was going to network with, brands and everything, and it just didn't work out for me. And then making the crossover to a different university, I didn't even think I was going to get in, because I kind of was on the brink of the deadlines of whether I would get into another university. So in my head, I was like, right, I could potentially take a gap year here, and I don't have any plans to, like my friends were going traveling and working, and I just had no plans. I just basically thought, right, I need to create something that's mine and that can be used as like a portfolio for, further on in the future. I created Femme Country essentially in that time. And then I got into my university. So I went to York University and just started studying for journalism there. And I think the first initial wow moment was when people started wanting to buy it on Instagram. And I was just thinking, well, this is just something I'm creating for myself. Like, it's nothing, I'd ever think I would sell. But people were interested, and that kind of made me feel like, oh, maybe let's platform this somewhere else and take it into a market, I guess.
Because it is quite different to anything else out there, isn't it? And was that quite a deliberate move when you started making it a little bit more commercial?
Yeah, I think for me, it was essentially filling that gap that for brands that I absolutely adored, but just didn't see anywhere in print. And I think, like we was talking about, the bigger magazines, the bigger publications, a lot of it is like house designers and kind of brands that you would see, but necessarily you wouldn't have at home or in your own wardrobes. And for me and my friends were wearing, like Fairfax and Faber and Holland Cooper. And at the time, obviously 4 years ago, they weren't really sort of talked about. And if they were, it would just be like a picture. Whereas I was so interested in the stories behind the brands, how they came from small brands to, the development that they've got now. And yeah, I think apart from the country, some of the country ones, there wasn't really one that kind of focused in on small businesses as such. So yeah, that's where the spark essentially came from. And then it's just kind of built from there essentially into more of a, like I said, a media brand essentially.
So what has developed over the last 4 years? As you say, you went from this one idea to kind of basically forming your own portfolio.
Yeah.
To what's now. So what things have happened along the way, and how has it really developed into this media brand?
Oh my gosh, in so many ways. So I think at the start, obviously, we were just working with print, and it was literally the most basic magazine you've ever seen in your life. I look back at the original ones and I'm like, oh gosh, that's so basic in comparison to what we create now. But yeah, so I think the magazine was something like 30 pages, if that. And at the time, we didn't have much content. So it was basically just 2 or 3 stories, and we could kind of fill the magazine itself with just features. Whereas now the magazine is like adverts, edits, columns. It's got loads of things, campaign shoots. There's so much that we do. And I think as well, we've got more of that opinion from other people. I get a lot of people writing in for me now, which is amazing. And to get these different voices into the pages is essentially what the magazine's all about. And for me, essentially, the magazine has grown more into expressing women who are in the agricultural sector and the different sort of contents that are in the country industry, essentially. So I think it's grown in terms of its ethos as well. I think at the time when I created it, it was just like a fashion magazine essentially, but now it's become quite personal, and I think something that people reach to get ideas and to get inspiration and to look up to people that are in the same sphere as them essentially. In terms of the media side, just Instagram, it just wonders. I think obviously that's where we started, and then it just kind of grew from there, and we started kind of expressing the stories that were in the magazine onto media. And then the website came, and then the blog came, and we've got a new website actually coming very soon, which is really exciting. So yeah, it's just kind of a place where I think even if you don't buy the magazine, you can still go onto our Instagrams and our social medias and still be involved in like the community that I've built essentially, which is really lovely. And we get so many people like tagging us in, just even if they've got like a style photo or them shooting. It's just kind of, it's really like awe-inspiring to me that people kind of post and then think about us, because that's exactly what I drive the magazine to be in terms of its ethos essentially.
Because that's the thing, obviously, if you haven't seen the magazine, go and look at it, go to the website. We'll obviously have all those contents at the end. Go and buy a copy, and it's beautiful to look at. The photography is stunning. It's nicely laid out, really nicely laid out, but it's much more than that. It's about kind of confidence, community, values. It's not just kind of superficially beautiful. There's a lot below that level as well, isn't there?
Yeah, and we literally show so many people. I think when people think of magazines, they think of beauty models and showing the best of the best. And whilst that's amazing and we all love to look at that, I think sometimes getting the reality behind people's stories. And people are so open. I've done some really personal stories. For example, Claire Haggis, I think hers was the real like eye opener for me.
I
And
love her. She is so inspiring.
she is. I had to say to her when we had the interview together, I was like, are you sure you want this publishing? Because it is so personal. And, you know, sometimes the print industry and the journalist industry can be taken into, you know, really opposing sides in terms of how we showcase personal stories. So yeah, and to me, that she wanted to share that to people, and she was so open, and there wasn't one thing that she didn't want to share. And it was so inspiring to me that she wanted to do this to kind of inspire others and share her story and make people think, you know, I can really take this person's story and really kind of personalize with it.
Yeah, I had Claire on the podcast, oh gosh, I want to say about a year ago. And obviously she's an incredibly talented like amazingly talented artist, and the products that she's also created off the back of it. But she was chatting away, and as you say, so open, so honest. And I was just absolutely in awe of her journey and the genuine struggle and those dark moments, and how she's really turned her life around.
Yeah, exactly. And she said to me as well, like, obviously we go through brand stories, and it's completely up to the brand owner how they want to express their stories and how they want it to be showcased. But for Claire, it was very much, I wouldn't have been here if it wasn't for that journey. And I think to share that is really important. And I know she's inspired so many other women who, you know, were in a similar situation to herself. And yeah, it just, again, that's just what the magazine portrays. And I think when we first published that story, it kind of made me feel like people do want to share their stories, and they're not something that should be hidden, and vulnerabilities that we potentially think we have, people can really support with and share with. And I think that's so important.
Completely, I couldn't agree more. And I know something you did very recently actually were, again, thinking about showcasing, I hate this term, real women, because I like it in one way, because I think it's important that we share, you know, we do share the stories and we do learn more about the people that we follow who aren't super duper celebrities. But equally, super duper celebrities are also real women. If they're thin, they're still a real woman. If they're curvy, still a real woman. So I don't mean it like that. Gosh, dismounts from the high horse quickly. Because I think sometimes, I'll carry on the high horse. I think sometimes it can almost be quite negative towards people who are, let's say, slimmer, or who are, you know, a size 6, or who are celebrities. They're not classed as real people, whereas actually I think that's...
Yeah, they are. And I think with us as well, I get so many Instagram messages of girls saying, am I okay to be in your magazine? And it's this kind of, I'm like, absolutely, like where there was no line to be drawn underneath where you can and can't be in a magazine. Because for me, you know, we don't, I think, again, it's this stereotype behind what a magazine is and relating it to, you know, the models. But I don't think I haven't been through a modeling agency. I think we used one girl who was actually one of my friends. But I think, like you said, it is these girls that really engage with the brands and they wear them themselves, and it comes across so differently on photography than if you were to get, you know, a modeling agency involved. And whilst, you know, I don't have any, you know, thing to against them, but for me and what the magazine drives, I think it's that personality and that connection where if someone's got the magazine in their hand, I want them to feel like, right, I'm going to be in the next issue, whether that's in a style edit or with my own story or my own business. And yeah, I think it's just that connection that's like so imperative.
Definitely. And you did something fairly recently with Jade Emily Photography up at Birdsall Hall. Is that the correct way of pronouncing it?
Yeah, Birdsall House.
Sorry, not Hall. Can you tell us a bit about that? Because this is like the kind of the epitome of showcasing your readers from all different backgrounds, and they all looked absolutely beautiful. The shoot was incredible.
Absolutely incredible and so inspiring. I think I've done so many shoots, like for other magazines and obviously for Femme Country, but this was completely, again, just awe-inspiring and completely different. And I think for Jade, it was so strange because she came up to me and we kind of had a few emails that she wanted to get involved because we've used her photography before. But for me, she came up to me and she was like, I just want to be involved with the magazine. And I was like, okay. So in my head, I kind of think, right, we could do a feature, we could do an advert. And then we had a Zoom call and she just like went off on this whole idea. And I was like, I had no idea you had that in your mind. Like, that is just exactly what the magazine was all about. And it mirrored our content beautifully. So yeah, we basically got 11 incredible laid women, and they all had their own kind of shoot taken. But for us, it was again not essentially about, it was just making sure that they felt comfortable and they felt beautiful. And I wanted that to come across in print and also with the feature that we wrote. And yeah, I think Jade was so pleased with it at the end, which I was really. And yeah, I don't know, when I think about it, I kind of go a bit speechless because it was just one of those days where you had to be there, like you just had to be immersed and meet everyone. And for me, a lot of those girls were subscribers, and especially with the pandemic, like it was a time where I could never meet people like that. And you do kind of get to know people on Instagram, but for me, it was actually meeting people and finding out what they think about the magazine. And then it puts ideas into my head. So I think it was just a day that was, yeah, completely awe-inspiring. I absolutely loved it. And yeah, Jade is so talented in what she does.
Annoyingly talented, I'd say. No, she's actually such a lovely girl as well, isn't she? Big shout out to Jade, Emily Photography. Go and follow her if you don't as well. But she's lovely. And I think when I was looking at the pictures that were coming through on your account, I was like, oh my God, everyone just looked incredible.
I know. And the front cover, especially for the spring one, with Emma Jones, it was just like beautiful. And I think whilst again we kind of have that vision of beauty as in aesthetically, when we looked and when everyone looked at the photos, it was more of how people felt on the shoot day. And that really came across in the feature, in the words that we wrote. But yeah, I know if Jade was planning on doing some more, but if she is doing any more, definitely take part, because it's just a completely exciting day.
Oh, absolutely. In addition to the main Femme Country magazine, you also do another magazine, don't you? Can you tell us a bit about that? Because that's a fairly new edition, isn't it?
Yes. So the Femme Petite issue, is that what? Yes.
Yes.
So that actually hasn't come out for a while, but just because it's been crazy busy here. But yeah, so my vision for that, and I'm hoping to bring it out again at the end of this year. But again, it was just to showcase the founder stories. And our last issue, so we had 2 front covers. So we had Ellie from Whale of a Time, so she's a founder. And then we had the sisters from Hicks and Brown. So lovely. That's the thing, everyone I work with is just so lovely. Like, I've not come across anyone who I've been like, everyone's just so lovely. But yeah, so that was essentially, I wanted to call it like more of a business magazine, but I think for girls, it was essentially an A5 issue that they could pop in their handbags, and it just showcased entirely founder stories, and especially of the female-owned businesses. And I remember when we released it, people were like, wait, was Hicks and Brown 2 sisters? I think they were really, really shocked. And I think people thought, one, it was a male founder. I think just with essentially their, I don't know why, but like with hats, I think they associated it with it would be a male founder, and that they were sisters. So again, for me to kind of, get this kind of note out there, it was just incredible that people were so shocked by it. And I think that's what the other magazine, or the sister publication, was all about, essentially finding brands that people had absolutely no idea about, to put them on the cover. And with Ellie, she's so young and she's incredible. She's, just one of those girls who has constant creativity, like flowing through her. And but I said to the brand, I was like, we don't really see her face, like we don't see her that much. And I know this goes with a lot of founders as well. In terms of her own business, we don't match her face to Whale of a Time.
Not at all.
So I said, it'd be really nice if we could have a cover and it was a long shot, because obviously she's not naturally to do that. And yeah, she was completely all for it, and we did an interview. And again, it's just kind of these provoking this kind of thought process of, wow, I had no idea about these brands, but now I feel more close to them, and that I feel kind of that you would want to buy from them, essentially, because you know where they've come from.
I think as well, it's inspiring as somebody, if you're thinking about, starting a bit of a side hustle or having a go at something, when you see that people who are a similar age or younger have got these like huge brands, you kind of think, you know what, I can have a go at this.
Yeah, definitely.
It's possible on a massive scale.
Yeah, and I think again with Ellie, she was just a face that I was like, people just need to know who she is and what her thought process was behind the brand, her designs, her creativity. And again, if it makes someone feel more connected to the brand, and especially in what they're wearing, because with a lot of the major, I'm talking like the house designers and things like even like Ralph Lauren, it's really hard to sort of be in the clothing and feel like you know exactly where the creativity and the design has come from. But with smaller businesses, you can really get into the like nitty gritty of things. And I think that's what's so amazing, to get these stories out. And through print as well, because that's what I love about the magazine. They're constantly there. I call all the issues evergreen, because you could literally pick them up at any point and that story is still alive and it still kind of resonates with you. Like, they of course are seasonal magazines, but the stories inside them are completely evergreen. They will last, as far as you take your magazine with you.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like the print is dead thing is kind of I feel like it's not essentially not there, but I feel like there's definitely a debate to be had with it.
I think that there are probably different, if we look at the kind of industry as a whole when it comes to print, I think there are some publications that do work incredibly well on digital, because it's maybe like news things that are quick, fast happening, and that makes sense because you want it like that moment, don't you don't necessarily want to wait and then see it. But as you say, if it is that evergreen content, it's almost like a book. I still buy printed books rather than Kindle.
Yeah, I do too.
I like the page turning. If it's that sort of thing that you keep, I think it's quite a different proposition.
Exactly. And I think throughout the pandemic, I don't think we would have thrived that well if we were a digital magazine, because I think the fact that people couldn't leave their homes and the magazine was being delivered straight to their door, it was essentially that connection between me and the subscribers that was still physical. And a bit like the show, which we'll talk about, it's just kind of keeping that physicality between the brands that you love, because whilst you couldn't go to shops and actually feel the products, we could send it through in our magazine as more of a catalogue, and it's still that kind of shopping experience that's still physical, that we've taken the screen away, but we've still got that sort of physicality, which is just really essential. And like you said, a lot of people would choose a book and a magazine over, downloading it on their iPad or their Kindle. And I think we got so many subscribers throughout the pandemic. And I think we wouldn't have thrived that much if I was just sending a link to an online magazine. I just don't think it would have had that same effect.
No, I agree. I think I think it's a very different experience, the turning of the pages, than the flicking on your phone, because we also go on our phone looking at all of our social media, email, etc., kind of blends that experience. I also think something else you mentioned, which I was going to just quickly pick up on, is that obviously when we're smaller businesses, when we're working with smaller businesses, you always think, gosh, they're up against like real giants, real competition, and they are. But one of the really cool things that small businesses have over big businesses is that individuality, is that person behind the brand that is almost touchable, that they'll see on a stand, and follow what it's done themselves. And it's great that Femme puts a spotlight on those, because there are so many things that small businesses have over big businesses.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to focus on those aspects rather than the other side that you can't do anything about. Do you know what I mean?
I think from a business perspective as well, I really kind of create a relationship with them. I used to work for Hearst. Well, I was an intern at Hearst Magazine, so they do like women's health, Elle, and all of that, all of those publications. And it is very much kind of like a conveyor belt, essentially. Things come in, they publish them, and then they go out again. And it was kind of, and then adverts were very stock based, so they just, you know, send in an advert and then it was published. Whereas with Femme Country, I really build a relationship with the small businesses. We have so many like Zoom calls. So for example, in the summer issue, we've got the Heritage Hair Company and Fox and Field coming in, and they are two really lovely brands, and again, such small businesses, but I already feel like I know them completely well, and that's just through having calls and having the questionnaires that we do. And I think the content, whilst it goes into the one magazine, we then I maintain the relationship, and I make sure that we're still supporting them on social media, and that we're still, you know, going back to that the back copy, because I think not like the big publications, we really do create this personal relationship where then, like you said, if you go to stalls and things, you can then see them and then create that as well with the readers. So yeah, it's just so much more intimate, which is what I love. And if I'm trying to make that between me and our clients, that's exactly what I want between the clients and the readers. So it's kind of like a chain link, essentially.
No, definitely. Now, obviously, you've mentioned that you are based in York, which is beautiful. York is one of the most beautiful cities I've ever visited. It's a stunning place. We went years ago, we went to York and we had like a ghost walk around. No, it was awesome. It was like, scary, but amazing. I remember it very fondly. There's obviously somebody leading it, talking about all the stories about like all the buildings around by the cathedral, and it was really cool. Beautiful place. But you have been working on something very, very exciting to do with York and fashion and a week. So tell us about that.
So essentially it's York Fashion Week.
There we go.
Yeah, we've got it in there. So it's essentially like London Fashion Week, but in York. And it's essentially a celebration of designers, fashion, styles, and essentially diversity in York. But I think what's so amazing about it is it's not just about York. There's designers that come from everywhere. They recently had like Scott Henshaw, so he's from London area, but he was actually born in York. So he came to do his show, which was really exciting. And yeah, it's been running for a while now. And since the pandemic, obviously they've postponed 2 years. So this is the first year back with the week. So yeah, so essentially Femme Country is going to be headlining the first evening of the week. So that will be on Friday the 29th. So the week will commence from Friday the 29th of April. And yeah, I don't really know where to start because there's just so much about it, but it's so exciting. I've been going to York Fashion Week since I was like 18. And for me, essentially, it was that kind of took down that barrier between, you know, as we said before, like being a normal person and going to a fashion week, because unless you're part of press or on a VIP list, there's no way you're getting into, you know, London Fashion Week. Essentially, it's so hard. And I know they've tried to make it a lot more collaborative, but the bigger names, it's really so difficult. And believe me, I've tried. I've tried. So I think it's just, again, breaking down that barrier between people who really would love to go and see fashion shows live and have that runway sort of atmosphere back. And especially after the pandemic, it is essentially bringing that back, because it's something that we've missed so much, being able to interact with clothes and see that, you know, even just how it moves is so important. And we've just kind of, again, the screens kind of took over that through pandemic, and it's nice to bring it back through York Fashion Week. But yeah, so the show is the Country to City Muse fashion show. And essentially we are showcasing kind of what the pages in the magazine show. So we're kind of taking out the content from the pages and popping them live on stage. So it's kind of showing how versatile country clothing can be. I think a lot of us, you know, we wear our Fairfax and our Holland Cooper and our Higgs and Brown, but I think there's so much more to that than just in the rural environment, essentially. Whilst we love wearing them to points and events like the Game Fair, Yorkshire Show, I think its ability just stretches beyond anything. And I think, you know, people love to, you know, just go shopping in the city with their Fairfax boots now, or, you know, go to a restaurant and have their Holland Cooper blazer on, or their Eton Taylor blazer. So yeah, I think it's essentially showcasing how versatile it is and how it can be transported from the country environment to more of an urbanized landscape.
I love that.
But yeah, so exciting.
So are you literally organising your part of the show?
Yeah, so essentially, York Fashion Week will have a lot of different shows. I know Charlotte Crosby as well, she's doing a show. So with her new brand, which is really exciting actually. But essentially we are just essentially hosting the show as Femme Country. So they've kind of let me free rein, which is really lovely. The founders of York Fashion Week, I've known for quite a while now, and we've kind of had a huge network. So I think with the planning that we've done with Femme Country, I think they were just like, you know, we're completely happy for you to go free rein. And they are so excited to have these amazing, eminent British country brands coming to York. I think it's so exciting. And a place where, I mean, Wild & Westbrook, I don't know if you've heard of them.
I have.
Yeah. So essentially, they're a huge stockist of the country brands in York, and they've just opened a brand new store, which is so exciting. But yeah, so you can go and buy them there, but it's nice to bring the brands and their founders up to York and have this celebration of designers and the girls that are wearing the garments, and just to create a really fun event. I think the whole setup, whilst in my head it sounds so scary and I'm like, oh my gosh, is it going to work? I think it's going to be really inspiring and something that people can really look forward to and get dressed up. I had so many messages like, I can't wait to get dressed up for this event. I'm so excited.
I love that. So how can people get involved with it? Can they come along? Do they book tickets? How does it work?
Yeah, so at the moment we've got all our models essentially sorted. And I'll try and list a few if I can off the top of my head, because there's just so many. But yeah, anyone can grab a ticket. I think they're selling quite quickly, so I'd definitely grab it while you can. And that goes to my show. It goes across the whole schedule. If you go onto the York Fashion Week website, all the schedule is up for there. And there's things like an All Saints show, like I said, Charlotte Crosby's show. And then they have kind of like pop-ups as well, which is really sort of different. So it's not just essentially runway shows. But yeah, so with us headlining the first night, it is just, I'm beyond honoured. It's just something that I would never have imagined doing. And it was just a pitch that I had to them just off the top of my head, and they were really excited for it. So yeah, definitely grab a ticket, because I've been telling everyone, like, I'd hate for someone to miss out, because I think it's going to be such kind of an inclusive and an immersive event, and I think you should definitely be there.
It sounds amazing. And at least as well, yeah, people can make a bit of a thing of it. Go stay for the weekend, or
yes, I said that to the so some of the models that we've got coming are, so Sarah Thomas, so she runs Clockface Beauty, which is a makeup and beauty brand in York. So it's nice to have, she's a mum of two as well. So wow. It's kind of, for me, it's creating that diversity of who we've got in the show, which was just essential to me. And then we've got people like Audrey Bro, who people will have seen all over Instagram, and obviously with her style tips, every time I see her, she's just all over the Facebook groups. Like, I just constantly see her face. We've got other people, so Emma Jones, who was obviously on the front cover of the spring issue. We've got Kitty, Countryside Rapunzel, which people will know really well. Lauren Evans. We've got Rosie I can never say her name, Rosie Minarko, I think. So she is Japanese, and she's walked for like Milan Fashion Week, Paris Fashion Week, but she's also a keen equestrian. So yeah, it's really nice that we've got models who are again, I'm using this like ordinary term, but they're just really natural girls who love the countryside, love everything about it, but they've each got this kind of individuality about them. Like Sarah, she's a founder and a mum of two, and I think that just, it really resonates with the audience, and that's how I want the show to come across. We had a meeting yesterday night, and all the girls were like, is it really serious? Like, we're gonna have to pull model poses and model straight face? And I was like, no, it's just going to be so fun. And I think as long as the girls are having fun, it really will come across to the audience. And that's essentially what the show is going to be about. So yeah, it's just going to be really exhilarating, and a chance for everyone to kind of network as well. And I know, so brands that are coming include Hi Ho Silver. So Emma, the founder, she will be there. So I know that she really wants to meet a lot of the girls, which is, again, super exciting. We've got Sprawling and Osborne. So Tamsin, she's only young. She's only a young founder. Yeah, she's honestly so lovely. We've tried to work together for a while now, and I think this event, she really just wanted to pull her brand from beyond the screens and kind of make people see it. And because unless you're on a stall, like we said, it's really hard to kind of, unless someone's buying essentially, to kind of see a collection before it's been bought. So yeah, she's going to be involved. We've also got like Hicks and Brown, Fairfax and Favour, Toggy Clothing, who've been working with for so long now, and they are such an upcoming brand. So they've just released their new Toggy Outdoor collection, which is essentially a versatile collection that can be worn like hiking, and even if you're an equestrian, fishing, literally anything.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, you kind of see it there, but yeah, they do some gorgeous like fleece, big fleece. I
love a big fleece. I'm wearing all the layers today speaking to you. I've actually got Sprawling and Osborne on today.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Rose repping.
Absolutely, I am. It's very cozy. Yeah, no, it's lovely, and I think Tamsin is so clever, and how she makes everything bespoke. This one's got longer arms because I've got longer arms. So clever. But it's great to have that range as well, where everything works nicely together, and you can style it. And
I think it'll be great as well, because the show, so it's April 29th, so it is just essentially before the summer season and the country shows start coming in. So for me as well, it's nice that we can showcase new collections and the faces and kind of the creativity of the designers before then people go to, like the game fair and then see them on the stands, because again, it's just that constant connectivity that we're trying to create, all the way from print to, real life events. And I think that's really kind of what I'm kind of endeavoring to achieve through a more of like a kind of like a stylistic modernity essentially. And I think that's just exactly what the magazine's all about.
Definitely. And will you be kind of taking us along on social as well? And obviously you'll be covering it in the magazine afterwards as well?
Yeah. So anyone that's got the spring issue currently has kind of like a lowdown essentially on what's going to happen. But there will be a lot of post press from the show. So yes, everything on social media, I'm sure all the girls will be posting. The models have started to release that they're involved as well, so you'll kind of start seeing that pop up. And yeah, we actually have a really exciting venture with the Boots and Heels girls as well, with Farmers Weekly. So Farmers Weekly are essentially going to be doing a video episode on the show. So that's really exciting. So I've always said, if anyone does miss out or they can't attend, definitely watch the video, because it's just going to be interviews all about the show. There's going to be like fun things. I think the girls are planning to like walk the runway and the brands, and it's just going to be a really kind of uplifting video. So if anyone doesn't get to see, there will be so much content everywhere. And I'm hoping to kind of film a bit live on the night. So if anyone does want to pop on Instagram, there will definitely be some live footage. But yeah, I would advise, if anyone does want to come physically, definitely get your ticket, because they just seem to be like increasing throughout the day. And I keep saying to everyone, like, please get your ticket, because I'd hate for people to like miss out who really want to come.
No, definitely. So kind of thinking about your whole journey with Femme Country, obviously there'll be high points and low points. Have you got any sort of stand out lows? And we are going to go high afterwards, but I always like to start with a low. Although sometimes actually the low can be, from lots of people I've spoken to, the low is something that they've like learnt from, you know, something they didn't go well that they then evolved and kind of went, actually that's how we do things now.
Yeah, I think I've had a few. I've had one where I think university was hard for me because I think the balance, the balance between, I mean, all the university stuff that was going on. And if anyone obviously out there is running a business and going to university, I really do sympathize with you because it's so hard. And I think you've really got to be organized and really get priorities. And for me, it was that sense of like, am I prioritizing things right? Because whilst I had so much going on with the magazine, you know, it was essential that deadlines were hit with university. And at the time, I'd be working so hard in university, and then the magazine was sort of being pushed to the side a bit.
Yeah.
Which did make me feel kind of a bit upset, but essentially it was what was best to prioritize at the time. So I did have a few lows there, and I did kind of miss a few university things because we had shoots and things that I had to attend, and yeah, it was hard because you just, I think being so young as well, you're constantly learning. But as you said, I learned so much from it. I'm now I try to be so much more organized. Yeah. And it's that sense of multitasking and having, especially with the magazine, there's so many businesses that we work with every day. And then whilst I'm working with them, I'm also planning shoots and like the show especially. So it's having all of these things at once. But I think as well, sometimes, especially in university, you do come across, you know, certain things that aren't right. And I think I've always gone along with, you know, being kind and just kind of, you know, cracking on with things. So you do come across like hurdles and things. And I think that's with anything. I think another low point for me was, it's funny now, but it really wasn't at the time.
Have to sometimes have space when something is bad. You can laugh about it after, but it can take a long time.
I love it right now. So basically the summer issue, so the one with Toggy in, yeah, we basically, the magazine can basically, so if we feel like it's too light or too dark, we can kind of boost the colors. And at the time, the magazine looked really dark, and I was like, oh, it's meant to be the summer issue. You know, we need to really, you know, put some light into this. So yeah, we kind of made it brighter, and then we were on a deadline. So I just said, you know what, print them and send them to me. And yeah, looking again, that's another thing, is to always get a sample.
Always get a
never
proof.
do that. Always get a proof. Never do that. But again, you're just learning all the time. But yeah, they all came, all of these magazines, and I just looked at them and they were so bright and you basically couldn't see anything. And yeah, I remember just crying my eyes out and thinking, what are we going to do? We need to get all of these out to subscribers and readers. But again, it's those hurdles that make you stronger as a person, and I think you really develop from them. And like now, I will always get 5 samples. So
it's, as you say, it's learning, because you wouldn't know that until something's gone wrong. You would think, oh, it'll be fine because everyone's looking at it with my eyes and kind of think that this is okay or this isn't okay. But everyone's got a different opinion, haven't they? So
exactly. And I think again, it things like that and the university thing, it do make you it's made me such more of a stronger person. And I'm very more decisive with kind of what I do now. And I think this year I've kind of just said I want to say yes to as many things as I possibly can. But you do need to sort of have these downfalls essentially to then pick yourself up and realize, just to make things better. And essentially we spoke about that with the Jade shoot with Jade that we did, that these vulnerabilities and these downfalls that we have don't make us, you know, any less of a person. They don't kind of put you know, make us feel awful. They just develop us into new people, and they make us much more stronger. And I think that's you know, so important to express. So yeah, there's been a few lows, but definitely learned from them all.
And what have you got, like a standout high? Because it sounds like you've had some amazing things along your journey.
Quite a few. I think for me, and a high was definitely when we worked with Holland Cooper for the spring issue 2021. And yeah, I was very surprised at how kind of flexible they were as such a huge brand. I kind of came up with the concept for bringing kind of, it was country modernity into more of a traditional location. So we used Castle Howard, which is a Gothic, like huge house essentially. So it's kind of combining the two together. And I was like, they're just not gonna, like, I bet they've got certain aspects that they have to, you know, hit and achieve. And aesthetics, but no, they were just so flexible, and they were like, yep, that's fine, you know, go for it. And I think when Jade did her story with the issue and she was flicking through and my Instagram was blowing up and we were getting so many new followers, it was just crazy. And for me, it wasn't kind of all the new followers that was coming, whilst that was amazing, it was that she had it in her hand and she was reading it. Because for me, I kind of don't get to see how the founders react when they see the magazine, because obviously I'm at home. So it's nice to kind of see in reality how the magazine makes people feel, and that's not just readers but founders. I think that was a major high. But every time we work with new clients, it's a huge kind of tick for me. I love it, and I love experiencing small businesses, but also working with some of the more established ones, having the best of both worlds, really.
No, absolutely. So looking ahead, obviously you've got York Fashion Week, which is going to be amazing. What else can we expect to see from Femme Country and your kind of the whole of the brand moving forward?
Yeah, so I'm hoping to do a few shows this year. So I've got applications in for a few shows, which I won't say yet, just confirmation wise.
Keep an eye on the Instagram and keep an eye on
just definitely keep an eye. But it's been in the works for a while, and it's something that I think I would really love to do, because I know Country Living have like their own tent, but that's essentially for like arts and crafts businesses. But for me, it's creating like more of a social stand where people can come and recognize our name and come and have a chat, have a drink. And yeah, if they want to subscribe to us. I think, you know, there's so many clothing stores, but I haven't seen a purely sort of media brand magazine store, but I'd really love to do one. So there's definitely in the works for that. I'm currently sponsoring quite a lot of point to points, so that's been huge recently. I've kind of been pushing myself out for that, just to get the name out a bit more. I think it's just kind of finding those areas where I know people will love us, and just to put the name out there is just really important for me. So that's been a few, but it's mainly in Yorkshire. So if anyone's in the Yorkshire area and is going to any of the point to points, then we will definitely be sponsoring most of them. In terms of events, I think just the York Fashion Week is obviously a major one, the country shows, but we've got so much amazing content planned. I can literally ramble all day about what we've got on, but as I mentioned, we've got a few amazing brands coming up, and front covers as well. We've kind of got a lot of inquiries for front covers, so it's really hard to kind of choose what's going to be right, and it will be kind of just amazing, really. So yeah, I'd love to spill everything out, and if we stayed on here long enough I probably would.
Watch this space. And that leads me beautifully through to, actually, have you got anything else you'd like to share before I ask you all the places where people can find you online and obviously keep up with all of your developments?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's just, again, if you've not heard of us, definitely do check us out. I think for a lot of people, we get so many questions about, is this a magazine for me? And I get people asking who are over the age of 40. And I got this one woman on Instagram, she was like, well, I think, you know, this isn't a magazine for me. 100%. We don't essentially have like a readership we have a demographic, but not like a sort of targeted readership. We showcase, you know, all women, and of all shapes, all sizes, you know, every age. And I think it is a magazine for you. And even if you're not sure, definitely purchase one and see if it's for you, because it's so personal and it's completely different to, you know, some of the major publications in so many interesting ways. And if you are a business as well that wants to showcase your story, definitely get in touch with me, because the opportunities are just so endless. I think when people come to me, they think, oh, we just write up a story, but essentially there's so much that we do that goes with it, from, you know, organizing shoots, products, getting people involved, getting other girls involved. And yeah, I think if you do want your story showcased in a sort of new spotlight, definitely do get in touch with me, because we have a full media pack arranged, so we can literally do anything that you guys would want, essentially.
I love that. So can you tell us all the places where you can find you online?
Yes, so we are on Instagram, so it's at Femme Country Magazine, and that's the same for Facebook as well. So they're kind of both very similar. Our current website is www.femmecountrymagazine.com, and you can buy all of our back copies on the website. That's from the very original one that we did right up to the completely new one. Yeah, so I basically had to make a like a sort of sample, essentially, and at the time it was basically purely fashion based, and I had a load spare, and people were really interested to find out what it was like. So yeah, that one is completely available to buy. And then obviously right up to the new 2022 issues. You can also subscribe as well. So our subscriptions work. You can subscribe from 2022 for the whole year, or you could subscribe from like a previous issue and then get the 4 issues that follow.
Wow.
So yeah, so if you wanted to subscribe from let's say summer 2021, it would then bring you to spring 2022. So it kind of, you can decide when you'd like to subscribe from. And also if you're a business as well and you just want to fill out, we've got a form online if you'd like to be involved and have your content in the magazine. You know, definitely inquire about it, because we get so many inquiries through, and there is not a single one that I've like passed off. Everyone is completely thought through, and how we would showcase them differently. Because I think that's another worry for businesses, is that because it's all printed content, it's all going to be quite similar. But each one has a different angle, and again, a different page layout, design. And it's something that people can really cherish as well. That's both as a reader and a business. So yeah, everything's on our website. And then our email, so if you want to email us, it's info@femmecountrymagazine.com. But I'm literally always on my Instagram. Like, you can just direct message me, and that's on my personal at Bronte.Clare. I take inquiries from literally everywhere. I think being in this business, I'm constantly like on my laptop, on my phone, so I'm literally within 1 minute's reach constantly. So yes, definitely just get in contact via that one.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been brilliant.
It's been so lovely. I listened to them, and I think being on your podcast and kind of expressing stories just feels, I don't know, feels very personal. I really like it.
Well, I'm delighted, and I've learned loads and very inspired, and wish you all the luck with York Fashion Week. It's going to be amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. And yes, definitely get your tickets, because I would hate for you to miss out.